It's another video for Edexcel GCSE Business Studies, topic 1.1, spotting a business opportunity, and this time it's market mapping. As always, these videos are not to replace attending lessons or also to replace any other revision that you're going to do around the topic area. It's just to give you some key pointers of the main themes that you need to be thinking about for this topic. I talk quite quickly. If you need to stop the video, then please do, and try and do a bit more research and read, and if there's any terms that you're unclear about or unsure about, GCSE Bite Size, Tutor to You, really good resources which you can access on the internet with really good reliable information. So three key terms. Unit 1 exam, going to ask you to provide some definitions. In the other examinations that you'll do, it's asked you to identify, state, and these key terms are really important to be able to do that. You need to be able to speak the language of business studies in order to be able to do well in the exam. So three key terms, please have a quick read of them now. So market segment. When we're thinking about a market, so for this example, we're going to look at the car market. We're thinking about all of the cars that are sold around the world. That's the car market. But for a business, that's just no good. You can't try and produce a car that everyone will want to buy. That's just not going to work. So what organizations do is they look at the market, so everyone who's going to buy then that would be the car market. Everyone who buys a telly, the TV market, the mobile phone market, the washing machine market, whatever it is, you look at all of the people who are buying that type of product, but then you start to break it into these market segments. And you've got the cake on the side. It's either a piece of fruit like an orange or it's a cake. When we're trying to think about breaking stuff into little bits, into its component parts, or looking at a pie chart. So you could look at the car market and you could say, well, how could we break this up into smaller parts? You could break it up by lifestyle, age, gender, geographical region, or socio-economic groupings. If you're unclear about any of these terms, a quick search on the internet should give you a bit of advice about market segmentation, but I'll try and describe it a little bit further now as well. So the car market, you could say, well, actually, let's try and produce a car that young people want. You could say to yourself, well, let's try and produce a car that families want, that wealthy people would like, that suits people's particular lifestyle. Maybe they're off-road junkies, or maybe it's people that would suit a particular gender, such as women. And so organizations will target a particular market segment where there is a group of people with similar characteristics. This is Model T Ford, the first mass production car. And when it was made by Henry Ford, he famously said people can have it in any colour as long as it's black. So because there was no real choice, there was no alternatives, there was no competition, he was able to produce one car, and anyone who wanted a car was able to get it. But as we've just demonstrated now, as consumers have become more complex, and because there's more competition, you have to produce cars that the consumers want. So just looking at that example again, let's have a think about the type of car that you might want as a young person. So for a young person, it might be something with 2 doors. It's unlikely you're going to have kids to get into the back of your car. You don't need particularly big boots. It's not like you're going to be going on camping holidays or doing big weekly shops and stuff, and therefore something like this, which is smallish engine for not travelling very far, low insurance, would be ideal for a young person, is aimed at probably younger people. Then if we think about families, so this would be your typical family car, a 7-seater car, big boot, good for transporting kids, going on holiday. It shows you here that it's parked next to a beach to indicate that if you're going on a camping holiday or something like that, then this will be the car that will be able to get you there. Thinking about wealthy people, well, something like this might be a car. The makers of Ferrari are not aiming it at people who don't have a lot of money. It's specifically aimed at people whose socio-economic groups allow them to have enough wealth to be able to purchase a car such as this. Lifestyle, something like this. I mean, the picture alone suggests a certain lifestyle that the owner of this car would have, whether they are whether they need it for work, whether they need it to take off-road because they go into the mountains, or whether they need to be able to put bikes in the back, or whatever it might be. A particular lifestyle, this car might suit that lifestyle. And equally finally, this car, it's not sexist to say that this car is not predominantly aimed at women, men, sorry. It is aimed at women, both by the colour and by the shape. And we could even be a bit more specific, and we could probably say that this car is actually aimed at young women. If you think about what I said earlier on about the other car, this is 2-door, small engine. This isn't aimed at women who've got families, big families. It isn't aimed at women who are doing a massive weekly shop, who are about to go camping with 2 kids and the husband. That's not who this car is aimed at. It might be aimed at a young professional, so someone maybe just left university, started in the first job. Socio-economically, they'll have a decent job in order to be able to afford this car, and we can start to build up quite a detailed picture of who this car is aimed at. What group of characteristics will the person who buys this car have? So why do we segment? If we just have a look at this here, the magazine market. So the magazine market is probably one of the easiest ones, and next time you're in a supermarket or a newsagent, it's probably one of the easiest ones to think, well, how have they segmented? The magazine market is anyone that wants to buy a magazine, but clearly you couldn't write a magazine that everyone would want to buy. So rather than do that, the magazine writers or the magazine publishers, they decide that they're going to go after a particular group of people, a market segment, a group within the market that have similar characteristics. So if we start top left hand corner, the Saga magazine. Saga magazine is aimed at people who are over 50. It's aimed based on people because of their age. Equally, CBeebies magazine, aimed at people again who are a particular age. Gardener's World, aimed at people who have a particular lifestyle, people who like being outside in the garden. Runner's World, also aimed again at people who have a particular lifestyle. And you can have a look at the other magazines and try and figure out which particular segment you think they are aimed at too. I mean, if we consider Runner's World, again, as I say, the market segment doesn't just have to be one category. Runner's World is probably aimed at people who are, I would say, looking at the man on the front, they're probably aiming it at people who are mid-20s and above. It's not a particularly cheap magazine. It's about £4 or £5 for the magazine. So although you wouldn't need a great job to buy the magazine, they're not aiming it at people who don't have some disposable income. The lifestyle, as we've said, it's going to be aimed at somebody who's got an active lifestyle. It wouldn't be geographical region. It's probably not based at people because of their gender, and therefore it hits maybe 3 of these categories. And that's how we can build up these market segments to be quite descriptive. So the advantages of market segmentation: it helps us to meet the customer needs. If you know exactly the group of customers that you are going for, then that allows you to really try and target the product that you are producing for those customers. It allows you to differentiate your products if there's a market segment that you want to go after, or if there's a market segment that you've already identified would be suitable for your product. You could then start to think about how you get that advertising right for those customers, to let them know how your product is different. It might be that you choose to tweak the product slightly to make it a little bit different, just to really meet the needs of that target segment. And again, this sort of unique selling point idea, how is your product different from its competitors? So thinking about how does it allow you to compete, and also thinking about how does your unique selling point meet the needs, the customer needs of the target market segment that you have identified. Another thing to think about when we're thinking about this topic area is market mapping. Now, as you can see, market mapping is an opportunity to compare 2 variables on a diagram and see what you're looking for is that key term, the gap in the market. So I've compared 2 variables here, quality and price, and the chocolate. So we've got in a high quality, high price area, we've got the Divine chocolate, whereas down in low price, we've got the Kit Kat and the Twix. But we've got Twix as a slightly higher quality than the Kit Kat. So as you can see, you map them, and what organisations are looking for is where there is a gap in the market. This gives the organisation or the businesses the opportunity to say, well, actually, there was quite a big gap there in high price, low quality products. Now there's a reason for that, because it's quite tricky to produce high price, low quality products. People aren't particularly keen on paying for them. And equally for high quality, low price, the other gap in the top left hand corner, that's quite tricky to be able to fill as well. But market mapping can be used by organisations to identify potential gaps in the market, or at the very least to be able to monitor their competitors' activities and see where their product could fit in. Is there an opportunity in this market map for a really high price, really high quality product which would go above that divine chocolate? And although it's only a small gap in the market, there may well be an opportunity to do that. And that's where market mapping can come in useful for monitoring those competitors' activities. Once again, thanks very much for listening to the video, and I hope you found it of some use.